not mathematically, but realistically, if Luke Herbert is to beat Jack Harding in this race again, that will put one hand on the championship trophy for the third time in succession for the #1 car. Luke Herbert has won the championship in 2017 and 2018, and on both of those occasions, it was Jack Harding with whom he was fighting. And on both occasions, we've come down to this final race meeting of the year, and something always seems to happen to Jack in that red, white and blue number 43 car that you can see lining up third on the grid. And unfortunately for him, that rather seems to be the case again this weekend. It's not all over, though. If he can win these two races, Jack Harding, and get a couple of cars between himself and the #1 car of Luke Herbert, then anything is possible, and we could yet see Jack Harding take his first ever MX-5 SuperCup race championship victory, I should say. But that will take a little bit of doing. So the grid for this one is based on second fastest lap times from qualifying. It's Luke Herbert, therefore, in pole position, with Aidan Hills third in the championship, who lines up alongside him. But the big two in the championship, Herbert and Harding, who lines up third with his with new driver to the championship, James Cousins, alongside him on the second row. We'll get into the points situation a little bit later on. For now, though, 20 minutes of racing action about to get underway in the penultimate round of the 2019 BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. Waiting for the green flag to be waved at the back of the grid, which seems to be a little delayed for some reason, but I think it's being prepared, and we should hopefully be able to get the race underway very shortly. It does appear, though, to be, for some reason, a delay to... we're getting another green flag lap. So this, I can only assume, is because we had a change of conditions. Yesterday was dry, predominantly at least. This circuit, as you can see, after some overnight rain, is still a little damp. It's not as wet as it was this time yesterday, though, when we had TCR UK free practice. And that's a mishmash of tyre choices and some drivers out there. For these cars, though, we've put on grooved Avon tyres, so it's a control tyre, and they run the same tyre, be it wet or dry. A fresher set of tyres will give you more grip in the wet. Of course, you'll also change the setup of the car. You'll maybe soften off the suspension and maybe fiddle around with the brake bias a little bit to try and make the car more drivable in the slippery conditions. Right now, though, it's, as you can see, not fully wet. It's sort of damp and a bit greasy, and it's those slimy conditions that the drivers don't really enjoy, because it's neither here nor there, and particularly here at Donington Park, it would seem. And on a chilly October morning, this is even more true. A damp circuit is a very, very slippery one here. This circuit in particular does not have much grip when it's wet. There are many theories as to why that may be, but whatever the reason is, it means that this is a bit of a voyage into the unknown for the drivers. Apart from the only thing they do know is they won't have as much grip as they'd like, but they will get stuck in nonetheless, I'm sure. Luke Herbert and Aidan Hills there vigorously throwing their cars around to try and to get some heat into the tyres. That's James Cousins, who is making his debut, actually, in the MX-5 SuperCup this weekend, the number 24 car. He did a round of the MX-5 Super Series, which is the sister series to this one, at Silverstone a few weeks ago, and was immediately on the pace, and was actually a bit disappointed to qualify fourth on his first ever SuperCup appearance, but he will be, I think, capable of winning races before too much longer, maybe even this weekend. He finished yesterday's race a slightly disappointed 5th place after a moment early on. He lost the draft of the leaders and ended up finishing a little way behind them. That race, though, saw Luke Herbert, Jack Harding, Aidan Hills joined by Simon Baldwin, who is making a not one-off appearance, but he's certainly not been a full-time competitor in the championship this year. He's in the black and orange number 16 car that lines up 5th place. Well, he was a potential winner yesterday and got himself on the podium behind Herbert and Harding, whilst Aidan Hills was down in 4th after he very much got his elbows out, and he was saying to me yesterday that he doesn't really care about this championship battle that's going on. He just wants to sign off the 2019 season with some more race victories, and he said if he can get another 2, then he'll be on 10 career wins, and he'd quite like to get to that point by the end of the season. So we are getting ready then now for the race to get underway. It will be 20 minutes of action, a championship on the line between Luke Herbert and Jack Harding, with the points advantage going the way at the moment of the blue number 1 car. The lights go out, away we go. We're racing at Donington Park, and it's an even start made by both of the front row men, but with Herbert on the inside line, you would think in ordinary circumstances that would be the advantage into the first corner, but the grip in the wet is on the outside, and that's what Aidan Hills uses to get his car in front going into turn number 1, and Aidan's teammate James Cousins comes through to 3rd, crucially ahead of Jack Harding. So the 2 championship contenders both losing position there off the line. They've Make their way, though, through Hollywood, down the crane of curves, and James Cousins is now attacking Luke Herbert for second position as they head down the hill. I don't think he was able to complete that manoeuvre, though. No, Herbert's still second, but there is potential confusion here with there being 3 blue cars at the front of the field, but they're all very rapid drivers. There is the number 62 car, that's Will Stevenson, not the car that he was racing in yesterday, but he had an engine failure, so he's changed cars for today's races. Down to, or up I should say, towards McLean's they go then for the first time. There's Gary Townsend racing with Nick Rutter, and right behind another new car, George Grant, not in his usual MX-5. The leaders, though, turn their way through Coppice Corner, and immediately Aidan Hills, who does like these conditions, is starting to make a little bit of a break. Herbert second, Cousins third, Harding fourth, and Simon Baldwin a bit detached from them in fifth, with Patrick Fletcher right behind him. Down the exhibition straight they come then towards the completion of the opening lap, and Luke Herbert having to defend his second place here to James Cousins. This will be giving some hope to Jack Harding that he might be able to get up there and do something about Luke as far as the championship's concerned. But he needs to be ahead of him. He can't afford to finish behind Luke realistically in this race if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive. End of lap 1 then, 6/10 of a second the advantage for Aidan Hills over Luke Herbert. +1 for Hills, -1 for Herbert on the opening lap. But as we saw yesterday, it's a 4-car breakaway really at the very front of the pack. The only difference being that we can take Simon Baldwin into this group because he's there in fifth position in his place. Slip in James Cousins, who is sliding his way through Hollywood. Luke Herbert starting to regroup a bit now, going after the race leader. Harding needs to get on with this in fourth. Could really do with getting into that third position as quickly as he can. There they are, look, third place Cousins sideways over the curbs. This could be Harding's opportunity. They'll carry more momentum out of the old hairpin through the left-hand kink at Starkey's, and then they'll re-emerge into our view through the left-hander at Schwant's curve. And look at the way that Aidan Hills is sliding that car around. But the closest of the battles right now is this one for third position between James Cousins and Jack Harding. Jack Harding must make progress here, especially since his big rival Luke Herbert has suddenly latched onto the tail of Aidan Hills, the race leader. If Herbert were to win the race, he'd score 100 championship points. There are 98 available for second, 96 for third, and 94 for fourth. Goes down in 2-point increments throughout the field. There are also 2 bonus points available for setting the fastest lap, which has been Luke Herbert's speciality. I think he's had about 12 or 13 fastest laps this year, which is well over 20 bonus championship points, which, as you can imagine, is making rather a difference in the championship battle. So through they come then, down to Redgate Corner, and Aidan Hills, is he going to have to start defending here from Luke Herbert before too much longer? Well, he chooses not to right now, which is actually probably a good thing for Luke on 2 counts. One, it means that Aidan is not shutting the door to a potential overtake. Also, as soon as Aidan starts defending, it will back Luke Herbert into James Cousins. And look at the sideways action from Aidan Hills, who's all over the place through the crane of curves. That car does not look particularly happy, and Luke Herbert now maybe is sensing that being right on his rear bumper is not the safest place to be. He wants to get on with this now and get the lead away. Out to the old hairpin again, up towards the Starkey's left-hander, and Luke Herbert all over the curbs there, heading into the left-hander. Is he going to have a go into McLean's? This is a potential overtaking opportunity, but Aidan Hills is now starting to drive defensively. Off the road, meanwhile, is Declan Lee down at the old hairpin, but he will be able to rejoin from there. Right then, things starting to develop now at the front of the field. Aidan Hills is defending, that's holding Herbert up, it's bringing Cousins and Hardings onto his tail. Harding really wants to get past James Cousins here. James has the pace, more or less, of the leaders, but Harding needs to be outscoring Herbert, and right now that's not what's happening. Down the exhibition straight they go then, into the chicane, and Luke Herbert having a peek to the inside, but that's a risky move to be making at this stage, especially since Luke Herbert he has the points advantage. He doesn't want to lose that advantage through a on-track misdemeanor. Here they come then. 15 cars still running, by the way. We lost Bradley Kent on the green flag lap, which I've just been notified of, so thank you for that information. He pulled over. That's why we had the second green flag lap, because there was a car being delayed the start. So not because of changing conditions. So Bradley Kent, who's been a bit luckless this year, you can see him there at the bottom of the screen, not being classified at the moment. He never even made it to the start. This lot did, though. They are now a quarter of the way through the race, with still no clear favourite emerging. At times it looks as though Aidan Hills has the speed to get away from the cars behind, but then all of a sudden he seems to have a corner like that one where he's not quite as rapid as they are, and ends up falling back into their clutches. And as soon as he starts to defend, that just changes the complexion of the race entirely. and bunches everybody back up. So in a way, it's in Luke's best interest here, maybe not to apply too much pressure to Aidan Hills. He's quite happy in second place, is Luke Herbert. He's got the fastest lap at the moment as well. So finishing second place with fastest lap scores you the same amount of points as finishing first without the fastest lap. So Luke will actually be quite happy with second place at the moment, as long as Harding is still down in fourth, which, as you can see, is still the case for the time being. So back down the exhibition straight. Herbert, though, now the one that's having to drive defensively. James Cousins, who, along with Aidan Hills, has no part to play really in this championship battle, other than the fact he's up there competing with the championship contenders. And he's now starting to join in the fun. Further back, George Grant there, in, I believe, that's the car that Steve Roberts has been racing on and off this season, the white car, ahead of Will Stevenson, the white and yellow. Working their way down to the chicane at the end of the lap. And some other good battles going on. That's the recovering Declan Lee, who had, I seem to recall, a couple of moments yesterday as well. He's been exploring the limits of adhesion this weekend. James Cousins with the fastest lap. Now that's significant because it takes 2 championship points away from Luke Herbert, the man who's still in second place, but would now be scoring just the 98 points instead of the 100 that he was on for. Side by side across the line then, Declan Lee trying to get 12th position away from David Henderson, brother of former champion Alan Henderson. And Declan Lee has been a bit quicker than him this weekend anyway, and had it not been for the off, he would never have found himself this far down the order anyway. So he's able actually to get through quite clearly. Change for third place then. Jack Harding has finally got past James Cousins, which is surprising in a way, because it was James that just set the fastest lap last time by, a 1:30.438. But Jack Harding has found some speed from somewhere on this lap and got past him. So Cousins down off the podium. The AK Automotive car into third place, but it's side by side for the race lead as well, and Luke Herbert has decided that this is his chance to go for it. Pulls to the right-hand side of the road. He's almost squeezed onto the grass, but the championship leader, the reigning champion, is going through into the race lead. There's a bit of contact between the two of them, but Herbert's got the inside line into the chicane and goes through ahead of Aidan Hills. And now Luke will try to get his head down and make a break if he can. It won't be easy, though, because with the slipstream effect of these cars, they're not the most aerodynamic of machines. They punch a big hole in the air. That means that Aidan Hills will now be able to tuck into that slipstream, benefit to the tune of maybe half a second or more per lap, and that should be enough to keep him with Luke Herbert unless he makes a mistake. But for the time being, he is staying with him. So that was beautiful timing from Herbert, wasn't it? Because he saw Harding had gained a place and instantly reacted to take the lead. So now it's back to how it was with the point situation. Liz Walton there, the number 19 car, under pressure from Peter Weaver, who's making his first appearance in the championship. Novice cross on the back of his car, and he's battling away with Liz Walton there in the fight not to be last. They're 14th and 15th respectively out of their the 15 runners that we have at the moment. So we're ticking towards half race distance, and Aidan Hill's coming back at Luke Herbert, and there's more contact between the two of them as they slide through Schwantz Curve. That nearly went horribly wrong. A non-finish for Luke Herbert would have a dramatic effect on his championship hopes. You drop your 2 worst finishes of the year, and so that will undoubtedly become a drop score if he does end up off the road. But he'd rather not have to do that, because it would almost certainly mean the championship went down to the very last race, and that's pressure and stress that Luke Herbert could do without. Don't forget, our third and final race of the weekend this afternoon will be a partially reversed grid race as well, so that further mixes up the pack, puts the quick drivers back in the midfield, and can often lead to some really good racing. But it's another bit of a hornet's nest that Luke Herbert and Jack Harding would find themselves in potentially. So through they come then, half a second between Herbert and Hills. Hills in turn has 3/10 over the fastest man on the track, Jack Harding, who has just taken the fastest lap points away now from James Cousins that had it most recently. The track is getting quicker, I think, as it gets drier, so we will probably see this fastest lap changing as the race goes on. There's confirmation of 1:29.744. To put that into some context, as Aidan Hills, you can tell he's a former rallycross star, can't you? He does like that car to be floating around on and maybe slightly beyond the limit of adhesion. The fastest lap in yesterday's fully dry race was 1:22.429, so we are about 7 and a bit seconds away from a full dry lap time at the moment. So the track clearly has a bit more improving to do, but they are finding a bit more grip, some of them. Jack Harding, though, would now be on for 98 points, which is just 2 fewer than Luke Herbert. So he'd go into the final race of the year 14 points behind, which would be difficult for him to overhaul, I think, with the way the drop score system works, because even if he won the race and Luke Herbert didn't finish, Luke would then count one of his previous drop scores. So we'll get to the abacus between races and we'll try and figure out exactly what the point situation will be. But right now, it would be 14 points between them. So Harding needs to make more progress here. If he gets to second place and holds on to the fastest lap points, he'd be scoring the same amount of points as Herbert. If he can get ahead of him, though, he'd take 4 points out of him. So each position is very valuable. It may only be worth 2 extra points, but that can make all the difference. Aidan Hills, though, now in second place, has nicked the fastest lap away. So I think we're going to see the fastest lap set possibly right at the end of the race. And the lap times continue to come down. That's a 29.189 now. So they are getting quicker. Maybe just starting to drop James Cousins in 4th position, but he's still got a bit of a slipstream, I reckon. Aidan Hills, despite the fact that car looks like it's an absolute animal to drive, he is all over the back of Luke Herbert. He looks a bit quicker now than the race leader at this stage as they slide their way through the crane of curves into the old hairpin. None of them making friends with the apex, but that's because, again, the grip in these conditions in theory is to the outside of the track rather than on the inside. But they're not really finding an abundance of grip regardless of where they position their cars right now. Up the Schwantz curve, no contact this time between the leading two, but Jack Harding will be egging Aidan Hills on here and hoping that he does start taking the fight to Luke Herbert once more. As I said, Aidan, when he spoke to me yesterday, showed no signs of stepping out of the way of either of our championship challengers. He is in it for himself and nobody else, and you have to assume, therefore, it's the same mentality for James Cousins, his teammate in 4th as Luke Herbert makes a mistake. They're words you don't say all that often. Coming out of Coppice corner, gets on the grass, and Aidan Hills gets alongside him. Jack Harding goes to the inside line, there's contact. Oh, Jack Harding's on the grass. Can he stop the car? Surely he can't. No, he's off the road. Jack Harding straight through the gravel trap, but he will not be happy with that. He will feel that he was squeezed onto the grass. Luke Herbert, of course, will argue the door was already closed, and Jack Harding will have to give those positions back. He will try and slot back in line in second place, though, but somehow Herbert came out of that with the race lead. I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. I think that Aidan Hills maybe saw that Harding wasn't going to stop and sort of bailed out of it, and in doing so handed his newly acquired race lead back to Luke Herbert. But that was real drama then as they went down into the chicane, and very, very nearly saw the two championship rivals out of the race altogether. But Harding is into second place. He's now scoring, therefore, 98 points. He does not have the fastest lap anymore, though, does he? So it is 2 points fewer than Herbert would be on. And didn't get a good run through the old hairpin there either. So Jack Harding needs to just try and regroup now. That will have definitely got his dander up now. He won't be too happy with the way that all transpired. I think it was just a racing incident, but there's a little bit of needle, it's fair to say, between Jack and Luke. They've not had the friendliest of seasons. No out-and-out aggression being shown towards each other, but they've raced very, very closely on a number of occasions, and as you'd expect with a championship as intense as this one, the tempers can sometimes start to flare. Jack wasn't happy with the decision that was made yesterday, felt that what he'd done was perfectly reasonable given what everyone else was doing out there. Luke Herbert, of course, disagreed, and it was just another disagreement to add to the long list of disagreements they've had over recent seasons. And Jack Harding, who is so desperate to win this championship, it's taken him so many years of trying, and he's been so close on a number of occasions, and to have it slip out of his grasp once again in 2019 would be heartbreaking. He sort of feels, I think, after yesterday's race that it might all be over anyway now, but if he has the chance to go and beat Luke Herbert, he absolutely will go for it. Luke, in turn, won't want to give any positions away to Jack if he can help it, but how hard is he willing to defend? Because that very nearly ended in tears for the pair of them. Fastest lap now, though, belongs to the race leader, Luke Herbert, so he's now on for 102 points. That would be 4 points more than Harding. So the gap now, as things stand, would be up even further now to about 18 points between the two of them. But we'll wait and see whether that is how it stands at the end of the race, because the lap times are going to continue to change. Look at the front of Aidan Hill's car. That's because he was in the firing line when Luke Herbert went off at Coppice corner a lap ago. Well, a couple of laps ago now, wasn't it, which sort of instigated that whole sequence of events. Harding doesn't seem to have the speed, though, to go after the leader. And I think that Luke Herbert, who was nearly 9/10 clear at the start of the lap, he's even further ahead now. I think he's starting to break the toe. And so, unless Jack Harding can somehow persuade Aidan Hills to work with him, which doesn't appear to be what's happening, that might be the last they see of Luke Herbert. In the chicane, back onto another lap. 3/4 of the race gone, 5 more minutes to go. And Luke Herbert's gap is 1.3 seconds, but Aidan Hills is the fastest man on the track now. He takes the fastest lap points away. So he's got speed here. Would it maybe be worth Jack Harding letting him go and seeing if he can toe up behind him. It looks like Aidan is maybe the only man that really has something for Luke Herbert in this race. So maybe Jack could use that to his advantage. You won't want to give this place up, though, in case he then can't get it back later on. Through Hollywood, back down through the Crater curves again. You can see a dry-ish line starting to emerge, but it's still greasy. And looking ahead to our TCR UK race, which is coming up in a little while, that could make life very interesting for those teams as well, as far as tyre choice is concerned. As I said, no real tyre choice to be made with this championship. They all run on a controlled grooved Avon tyre. Gary Townsend there, the 223 car, coming through. Now, Gary started in 10th position, and yeah, in fact, is still in 10th position, trying to get 9th place away from George Grant, who started 8th, so he's actually lost a position from where he started. Just ahead of them is Will Stevenson, who in the 62 car started from the back of the grid because of the change of car. So he's actually driven fairly well to work his way up the order. AK Automotive car of Gary Townsend, the team that also operates Jack Harding's car. They've won one of these championships in the past with the aforementioned Alan Henderson, who I mentioned a little bit earlier on. And AK know what they're doing with MX-5 cars, but trouble is, so do all of the other teams. It's proving increasingly difficult to beat the likes of Luke Herbert and Jack Harding in this championship because they've just got so many years of experience. But eventually, I'm sure they'll move on to pastures new, and that will maybe open the door for some new faces to appear at the top of the podium. Down the exhibition straight then comes this little scrap, and Will Stevenson under pressure now from George Grant to the outside line. This is for 8th position, remember. Fastest lap, by the way, for Luke Herbert now, 28.1. So getting quicker and quicker, as we suspected would be the case. There's Simon Baldwin dicing with Patrick Fletcher for 5th position. Now that the lead battle has reduced in intensity ever so slightly, we can perhaps check in on some of these other scraps going on further back. And Patrick Fletcher trying to gain 5th position here on Simon Baldwin as they run wheel to wheel through the first part of the Crater curves. Can't quite find his way through, I should say, because as soon as you run off the grippier line, you've just got no traction at all. So in theory, the track is getting quicker, but in order to overtake, it's difficult to do so because you need to run off the optimum racing line. Now, we've had a change for second place. Look, Aidan Hills, somewhere on this lap, has got himself ahead of Jack Harding because Harding was ahead at the line. Whether that was an orchestrated move on Jack's part to try and work together and catch Luke Herbert, I don't know, but it might be too little too late because Luke was nearly 2 seconds ahead at the start of the lap and is probably only getting further ahead on this lap. The lap times, well, let's see as they come through. Herbert does another new fastest lap, a 28.0. He's now 3.2 seconds clear of these three, so I'm not convinced that he's going to be caught. Jack Harding, though, is now having to defend from James Cousins, which is not part of the plan. And well, Aidan Hills on that lap was 9/10 slower than Luke Herbert. Now, I know that he overtook Jack Harding somewhere along that lap, but even so, I don't think even Aidan Hills can catch Luke now. But let's see, they come down the hill. He's getting away from Harding again now. And Jack is going to be hard pushed, I think, to do anything now about the championship. In fact, he might lose 3rd place to James Cousins, who tries to overtake him on the grass there, coming out of the old hairpin. Ran a little bit wide, but he was carrying good momentum and thought for a second he might be in, but ends up having to slot back in line in 4th position. So, yeah, if things finished as they are now, whilst mathematically it might still be possible for Jack Harding to snatch the title away from Luke Herbert in the final race of the season, it's unlikely. It's even more unlikely if he doesn't finish on the podium. He has to try and keep the very rapid James Cousins at bay, but James is all over him here like a bad suit as they come onto the back straight for the penultimate time this will be. We've got time for one more lap after this one. Herbert looking good for the win. Hills is now looking increasingly secure in 2nd place. The big question is who will join them on the podium. Will it be championship contender Jack Harding, or will it be newbie James Cousins in only his 2nd ever MX-5 SuperCup race? Will he be able to get himself onto the podium for the first time? He's got one more lap to try and do it. The lead gap did go back out again on that lap by 1/10 of a second, so it's certainly not looking like anyone can catch Herbert. Cousins a bit sideways as he turns through Redgate Corner, trying to find the grip required to get past Jack Harding. He does, though, for my money, look a little bit quicker at this stage of the race, so is he going to be able to prise this door open on the final lap? The time has ticked down to 0, but they will finish the lap that they're on. This then becomes the final lap of what's been an enthralling race. There's a screech of tyres there. Was that Jack Harding running out wide? Where's he gone? Is he still there? No, he's gone off. Jack Harding's gone off, and that surely is it now. He's gone off the road from third position, and Jack Harding rejoins a long way behind the podium runners now. And, well, I heard it before I saw it, but it did look as though he carried a bit too much speed in, and that's how hard he was pushing to try and keep James Cousins at bay. James is absolutely elated with what's just happened. Look at the celebration within the car. And he's now catching Aidan Hills, actually, his teammate, possibly just to orchestrate a nice photo finish between the two of them, but they'll both be on the podium. It'll be James's first ever podium, and therefore, of course, the first time that two Hills motorsport cars have been on the podium together. But that was real drama there, with surely Jack Harding now very much on the back foot as far as the championship's concerned. Luke Herbert, though, is coming out of the final corner and is about to win the penultimate round of the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. He punches the air with delight, and he knows how significant that may prove to be in a few hours' time. That may be enough now to more or less seal the deal on his third championship. For second place, it was Aidan Hills, with his teammate Jack Cousins second, but Jack Harding in fourth position after an off on the final lap. To add insult to injury, Luke Herbert went even quicker, by the way, on that final tour and set the fastest lap of the race, 1:27.850, to guarantee the maximum points from the race. It's going to be a near photo finish, meanwhile, for fifth position between Simon Baldwin and Patrick Fletcher, but my timing screen tells me that it was Fletcher that beat Baldwin by 64 one-thousandths of a second. And then the next battle to come through is this one for 8th position. Nick Rutter's gone through a lonely 7th. Will Stevenson will be 8th. 9th position for George Grant and 10th for Gary Townsend. There is, though, a penalty that's been applied for Simon Baldwin by the looks of it. The timing screen isn't telling me what it is, but it looks like a 10-second, we assume, track limits penalty that drops Simon Baldwin from 6th to 7th. So Nick Rutter gains one position, as you can see on the scoring pylon down the left-hand side of your screen. So a late change around there for the Simon Baldwin entry, who unfortunately, as I say, hasn't been in the championship for a full season, but he was disappointed, no doubt, because he was enjoying a race-long battle with Patrick Fletcher that actually comes to nothing, really. Well, a great race, though, and a significant one in the championship, and Luke Herbert takes further points now out of his rival Jack Harding. Herbert with the win and fastest lap takes 102 points from that race. It will be just 94 points for Harding, so the gap has now nearly doubled, actually, between the two of them, and that may prove to be an insurmountable margin for Jack Harding going into the last race, even if he won and Luke Herbert didn't finish, for example. Luke would then start counting drop scores from earlier in the season, so it will be difficult for Harding to do this, but he won't give up, I'm sure. If there's even a shred of a possibility, he'll be going for it. Herbert then the winner of the race and the leader of the championship with one race to go. Aidan Hills is second, James Cousins third, and Jack Harding in fourth. Patrick Fletcher came home in fifth position, Nick Rutter was sixth, and Simon Baldwin dropped to seventh after a post-race time penalty. Eighth for Will Stevenson, ninth George Grant, and Gary Townsend in 10th place at the back of that little trio of battling cars. Then it was Chris Richardson, Declan Lee after his gravelly excursion early on, and David Henderson. Peter Weaver and Liz Walton were lapped, but they finished in that order after another race-long battle, whilst Bradley Kent sadly never took the start after pulling off on the green flag lap, meaning we required an extra green flag lap and a delayed start. But once we got the racing underway, my word, it was very, very entertaining stuff, and Luke Herbert, as he so often does, came out on top, and he's had more wins than anybody else this year. He's been consistently on the podium, and all of these fastest laps that he's been racking up throughout the year have made an enormous difference, really, to his championship. I mean, another 2 bonus points there when you consider that there are nearly 30 races per year, and so if you can set fastest lap in the majority of those, then you can score easily an extra 30 points. And in a championship that so often is decided by a handful of points, as at least coming into this weekend, it looked like this season's championship maybe, an extra 30 can make the world of difference. In fact, to put it another way, if Luke Herbert had scored even half of the fastest laps that he had done this year, he probably wouldn't have the championship lead. And yet, as it is, we're talking about him being essentially champion-elect now after another race victory and another fastest lap bonus as well. So the drivers have headed down to the pit lane. We're just waiting for them to get out of their cars, and then we'll head back down to Bryn to chat to our podium finishers. And I don't know whether he can grab Jack Harding as well. I was going to say it might be nice for a chat, but I don't think it'll be a happy Jack Harding that we'll be chatting to. But certainly Luke Herbert will be happy, and we can now go down and find out just how happy they are. Bryn is with our podium finishers.
Well, a usual excitement as we see here at Donington Park for the Masters. I've got 3 of the drivers here. Let's have a little chat to them. So third place here with James Cousins. You see TCR behind right now as well. TCR, TCT about to kick off. James, though, well done.
Cheers, mate. That was unexpected, really. Yesterday I didn't do too well, dropped back 1 place from 4th from my quali. But I was right on it today. I was finding the grip. Jack really couldn't find it as quick as I, but he obviously got past me. But good little battles, and then there was a little kerfuffle going on, but I just watched it and hoped. And then Jack, unfortunately, going down into the old hairpin, just went in too deep, went on the grass, and smooth sailing home to 3rd place.
Well, that's the thing, you have to maintain, don't you? A lot of times you have to wait, particularly in the Mazdas, because it's so hard to overtake, because you draft up to and then you're stuck, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yesterday that was my issue. I went into the old hairpin and dropped into 5th instead of 3rd, rookie error. And then I just lost the toe, just couldn't keep up. But yeah, consistency is key. That's it, really. You just got to keep on them and see if they make any mistakes, which they did. So I'm happy. Aidan Hill's here with me. My teammate got 2nd place, Aidan Hill's Motorsport. It's great. First double podium for us.
Well done.
Cheers, mate.
Aidan, let's come to you now. Aidan, as you see, we've got the TCR, TCT cars very noisy behind us, but well done to you there. That's something, I know that when we look at you in podiums, we always think you should always be there or thereabouts, and you prove again that you are pretty strong.
Yeah, to be honest, Luke had good pace at the beginning. I think we were quicker in the middle, but to the end, we had a big moment, obviously went 3 wide. Jack was on the inside, I was on the outside. I'd done the move on Luke. I couldn't turn into the chicane. I was going in a bit hot, probably would have made it. I couldn't turn in because Jack was going straight off, so that sort of probably cost me the win. Luke was very fast. Congratulations to him for another podium, but I'm absolutely buzzing. 2 Hills Motorsport cars on the podium. Honestly, that's better than winning a race. That's amazing.
Well done.
Cheers, mate.
And let's go to the race winner then. A man we've spoken to a lot of times over the course of this season, winning yet another race. Congratulations, Luke.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, tough one. I had the wrong side of the grid at the start. You know, I was on the wet side. The grips ran the outside of the wet. Same as last year. I done the same thing. You know, got in the lead. So yes, it was a nightmare. At one point, I couldn't see. I had mud all over the screen. But you know, please come out with the win.
I think I've just counted about 5 different excuses there. About 5 different pre-prepared excuses. But you didn't need any of them.
No, you know, at the end of the day, I made a mistake. That's how I lost the lead to Aidan. Jack tried to overtake me and Aidan at the same time, locked up with a wheel on the grass, and they both went across the gravel and yeah, gave me the lead back. I think I got fastest lap as well, I'm not sure. But 1 more race to go. I think the championship's in the bag, but you know, I'm not going to not do the last race, so you know, I won't celebrate until after the 3rd race. So yeah, gives everyone else a chance to have a crack.
And as usual, you'll be going for another win, surely.
Yeah, you know, it'd be nice to take 3 out of 3. No one's done it this season, so if we can get 3 out of 3, then we'll go home very happy.
Well done so far.
Thanks very much, cheers.
There you go, speaking to all 3 drivers from the Mazdas, always great racing. You've got 1 more coming up too. We've just seen all the TCR, TCT cars go out. Actually, there's 1 still left in the pits at the moment, but they're going to be going onto the grid in just a few moments to start their race. So without any ado, this is the big one. James Turkington could win the title in this race if, however, Lewis Kent keeps right on his heels or stays ahead of him as we see the final car go out on track. If Lewis Kent manages to stay ahead in this race and he's starting further ahead on the grid, the title will go down to the final race a little bit later on today. So to talk us through it, straight over to our race commentator, Andy McEwan.